In this video, I'm going to break down the different key milestones that you want to hit in your finances if you want to reach financial independence and a comfortable retirement in the Philippines. While there are no one size fits all solutions, I encourage you to take the principles that I'm going to teach in this video because these were the ones that helped us to also build solid progress as we also aim for financial independence as a family in the Philippines. So, without further ado, let's get into the slides. So, quick disclaimer before we go any further, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Let me introduce myself for those of you who are landing on this channel for the first time. My name is Patrick Mabilog. My friends call me Kiko. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and the Lord of the Rings fan. And everything else there, you can read if you want. Pause the video if you want to check it out as well. So, before I go into the slides, just one quick pitch before anything else. I have created a free guide for all Filipinos who want to start their financial independence journey. If you want to go ahead and compute how much you need in your retirement, how you're going to get there, the different financial independence roadmaps that you can take as a Filipino, then you can download that guide for free. It's in the description below. So let's jump into the four net worth milestones and discuss them one by one in detail. So the four net worth milestones that I want to focus on are number one, 100,000 pesos. Second is a million pesos. Third is 10 million pesos, and eventually getting to 60 million pesos. Before I really go into this even any deeper, again, these are not the only ways. There are definitely many more ways that you can reach financial independence. But this is basically a roadmap that we've used ourselves and kind of like the milestones that we kind of like aim for. And I'm also going to share with you as well our personal experience as we try to reap the benefits of these milestones. So let's talk about the first milestone, 100,000. So at this point, this is the first milestone. You can now prove to yourself that you have the discipline to build your finances. 100,000 pesos gives you a good cushion, although completely honestly, it's not going to really change your life as much. But it's a sign of good progress because at this stage, you probably have a savings of about 20, like maybe 3 to 6 months if you're spending about 20 to 40,000 pesos a month. But if your lifestyle is closer to 100,000, one bad month could put you back in square one. So again, the goal of this milestone is just to kind of like prove to yourself that you can build the discipline. At this stage, you're likely not yet ready to invest a majority of your net worth just yet. Just yet. I mean, you probably can start practicing a little bit of investments. And a lot of people have asked, all right, what kind of investments do you want to start if you have 100,000 pesos? My personal take there, and though just again, not advice at all, but like the way that we've kind of handled it, when we had 100,000 pesos, we did not invest a whole lot of it right away. We probably invested maybe like 5 to 10,000 just to kind of like get the ball rolling, because at this stage you're not in the level of wealth building just yet. Again, that doesn't mean that this milestone is not important. The first one is always the hardest, and at this point you're really just building the foundations of your mental fortitude, your ability to delay gratification, and kind of like just build like a good financial base so that you can have some sort of cushion to fall on. Albeit it might not be that big, it's still very helpful. At this level, your sense of work optionality, it's not there yet. So you still probably have to build grit and stay in a stable job, or focus more on taking more of your active income and setting it aside, building a business, or increasing your cash flow, right? In our personal experience, we hit this goal when we were in our mid 20s because like I said, we had debt when we started off as a family. We started very early. But 100,000 did a lot for us. Like I said, number one, it gave us a very good savings cushion. Number two is we could finally go on some vacations because we knew for a fact that there was an emergency fund to fall on if anything happened, right? So that's the first like milestone that you want to shoot for. The second milestone that you want to hit is a million pesos. Why? Because at this point you likely have about 6 to 12 months of savings cushion already. So that's a really good emergency buffer. At this point, also you have enough liquidity to make serious investments that could make compounding work to your advantage already. And at this level, also, you do have, in terms of work optionality, you do have some sort of autonomy to start thinking about switching jobs or even starting a business. Now, at this point, I'll be completely frank, right? It's like at this point, you reach a milestone that not many Filipinos will reach. And that's something to be proud of. And if you have hit this milestone, then good job. That is definitely a milestone worth celebrating. But there's also this, very big movement online. If I don't know if you want to call it a movement of people talking about making their first million. Now, I want to really make a very important distinction here. There's a very big difference between making a million and saving a million. So you want to really ask yourself the question, because like a lot of people will try to use that language to, well, number one, fake it till you make it. Unfortunately, but secondly is to celebrate too early, because if I mean, let's face it, every one of us wants to get that feeling of I have arrived, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you get that feeling too early, then you start to lose momentum. And that's the reason why I want to really create this video, because I want to show you that you can still achieve more. So if you have made a million, then congratulations. That's about 100,000 pesos per month, which is not a joke in the Philippines. That's really hard to make. I understand that, but it's not really going to give you financial independence if that's your goal in life. If you want to really have financial independence, if you want to have work optionality, meaning you can choose to work or not, then this is just the second of many other milestones that you want to hit. Our personal experience is we hit this milestone in our early 30s. So for me personally, it's a bit late, because my dad always challenged me that you want to be able to shoot to have your first million in savings before you reach the age of 30. So I was a bit late, but better late than never. But we decided to keep half of that in liquid cash for easy access, and then the other half we put it into a stable UITF that would outpace inflation, because that way our money isn't completely losing all of its value to inflation over time. And at this level already, we decided to quit our day jobs, and we went all in on our business venture, Block 10 strategy. And so, once again, this is a very important milestone, but the story is just beginning. The next milestone is 10 million pesos. Only less than 1% of Filipinos can get to this milestone. And once again, that's something to be proud of, and that really just opens up my realization that we really need to talk about money more, because it's no secret that our country continues to struggle with financial problems, financial anxiety, and you can argue about the income inequality and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into that, highly political, but I do believe, however, one belief that I do hold, and I hope that if you hold the same belief, that this could really resonate with you, that there is a possibility for us, there is a chance for us to get to this kind of milestone. I didn't come from a lot of money. My wife did not come from a lot of money. We came from middle class families, and we started very early. Like I told you, right? I mean, we got into debt at a very young age. We were working stable, employment jobs. My wife was working a corporate job for a big company, entry level. I was working in church ministry, and I was getting paid a lot of money. But like one thing that we really held on to was that this belief that we can make a financial difference in our own life if we set the right milestones and we work towards those goals. So let's go back to this milestone. At this point, you already have 12 months or more of cushion. But one thing that I do want to kind of like say right here, right, is at this point in our personal experience, we didn't want to keep too much cash. And we stayed with just 12 months of emergency funds, because if you have too much cold hard cash, well, not really cold hard cash, but like if it's liquid cash in your bank account, you'll be losing a lot of money into inflation. So like right now, as I'm recording this, the Philippine inflation is at 7 point something percent. So if you have 10 million pesos, 7% of that is, I'm so bad at math, 700,000 pesos. So imagine in 1 year, your 10 million pesos, if that's all cold hard cash, you lose 700,000 pesos in 1 year. So at this point, you want to start building more of your net worth into investments. And you want majority of your net worth to be in assets. That could include property, global funds, ETFs, businesses, and so on and so forth. So that means that at this level, you do have some level of work optionality, as your investments might possibly cover a lot of your needs. So if you're a family, very small family, maybe one or two kids living in the province, you own your own house, then 75,000 a month can probably cover the basics, right? You can cover groceries, you can cover your house amortization if you buy a house, rent, it can cover basic education, utilities, and so on and so forth. You at this level now you are at a point where you have money that works for you. And this is the level that we're at right now. A little bit well, way more than this actually. But we hit that milestone about 2 years ago. And at this point, our passive income started to cover our basic needs already. That means that we could depend on our investments if we decided to stop working tomorrow. Now for the final level, the final boss, right? Which is 60 million pesos. It's kind of weird, right? Like 100,000, 1 million, and then 10 million, and all of a sudden there's like a six there. So why the specific like number 60 million? So that's about like $1 million, right? $1 million plus minus. So the the dollar has been hovering at about 59 to 62 pesos per. So let's just say, for example, for the sake of simplicity, that's 60 million pesos in assets, in investments, in net worth, right? So at this point, you still want the 12 months of cushion. So do not keep this all in cash, because once again, inflation is gonna bite you in the butt. So if you have 60 million pesos at a 7% like inflation rate, I don't even want to do the math. That's a lot of money that you're losing every year. So don't keep too much in cash. But here, investments will now work for you, and it covers a good portion of your lifestyle. If you follow the 4% rule, and I'll show you the breakdown in a little bit, it can really give you a good income. And so at this point, really, you are completely work optional. And you can basically say F you to your job or your business completely. I mean, like if your business folds, then you can go and say, well, you know what, time to close shop. We can still live off our investments. Or you can probably start other business ventures that are now more passion driven than income driven. So I talked about the 4% rule. Now, for some of you who are landing in this channel for the first time and you have very little exposure to financial independence jargons, the 4% rule basically tells you that it's a calculation that if you just withdraw 4% of your total net worth in investments, saying, for example, if your investments are in the financial markets, that you can probably let that money um, stretch for 30 years or more. In some cases, even there are some people that say that it can, in a good market, again, we definitely have no idea how the market's going to turn out. But in a good case scenario, you probably will never run out of money. The money will just continue to grow and will just continue to give you an asset that will generate revenue using your money. So the 4% calculation basically tells you that you can withdraw 4% of your total investments and still not run out of cash for a very, very long time. So looking at the capital of 60 million pesos, which is the final milestone that we were talking about, looking at the 4% rule, 4% of 60 million is about 2.4 million pesos per year. So you take 4% out, you leave the 100%, and then you leave maybe 2 to 3% if your investment is growing by 6 to 7%, just leave 3% for inflation, right? And then you just take out 4%. Then you'll have 2.4 million pesos in passive income every single year. So that gives you about 200,000 pesos per month. Inflation adjusted, that's still going to be a good amount of income. By the time that if you're probably like 25, 30 years old right now, then that will probably still feel like around 70 to 80%, 80,000 pesos per month in nominal value. Which again, that's a topic for a different day. If you want, you can watch my other videos where I talk about inflation, link somewhere here. But again, what I'm basically saying is that this is still a comfortable retirement income. And so at this point, once again, financial independence, you don't have to work for money anymore. You are now work optional. And that's why this milestone is very important. Because if you reach 60 million pesos, yes, you won't be able to buy a Rolls Royce or have a fleet of luxury cars and expensive bags. Maybe you can, I mean, if you buy it over the years. But it can still cover your needs plus a little bit more. So, one last point I want to kind of show here before we get into like the closing remarks, right? So, looking at the financial milestones and how we've hit them over the past few years. So once again, full disclosure, because I believe in transparency, times that we hit the financial milestones, we hit the first milestone, 100,000 pesos, mid 20s, so about 25, 26 years old. That was the time that we completely paid off all our debts, and we were able to build an emergency fund. And a year after, we were able to purchase our first property. And then the next milestone, a million pesos, we hit it just a little bit after we turned 30 years old. And the final milestone that we have now hit, we hit it about 2 to 3 years ago, which was 10 million pesos. And the reason why I show you this, like looking at this, right? The gap between 100,000 and a million, that's 900,000 pesos. That's a lot longer. So it's about 6 years, about 5 to 6 years in between before we reached uh, 1 million pesos and grew by 900,000. But growing our net worth from not 900,000 but 9 million pesos, the gap between 1 million to 10 million, took us only 4 years. So a little bit less, but our income 10x, or our net worth rather 10x over a shorter period of time. What you want to really get at here is something I call financial momentum. Because once you build the consistency, once you build the discipline, and once you start coming to a point where your assets, your net worth is working for you, you don't inflate your lifestyle, you don't go and blow off all of your income, but rather you consistently, in a disciplined manner, save anywhere between 20 to 30% of your income, put it into emergency funds. While you when you hit 6 to 12 months of emergency funds, then you start investing the rest into assets that can generate more revenue for you. If you do that for long enough, then your milestone momentum will reach a point where it exponentially grows over time. And so my encouragement for you simply is this: just go for the first milestone. Don't even think about the third, the second, the fourth, but just think about how you can get to the next milestone first. Most people will look at those numbers and feel completely intimidated. I get it. I used to look at the number 1 million pesos and I was like, gosh, this is never going to happen in my lifestyle, in my lifetime. I mean, I can't even pay off like 100,000 pesos in debt. And when I when when I look back at the 22, 23, 24 year old version of me, I was completely scared of the numbers. However, now, like I was just talking to one of my coaching clients one time. We were talking about figures, and I was talking about like getting the first million, getting the first 5 million, and he gave me this comment. It's like, Coach, you're talking about millions, like it's just like a normal Tuesday. And it's true. Why? Because not to brag, but basically, we have hit that milestone. And when you do hit that milestone, you realize, wow, we could actually do it. Now, how do you do that? The couple of things that you want to keep in consideration, once again, number one is just making a small decision over a long period of time, consistently saving. We started with saving 5,000 pesos a month. Heck, we even started saving like 1,000 pesos a month when we were still building our emergency fund. But doing that over a long period of time kind of like helped us to budget, to build financial discipline, to say no when there's a 3 day sale in SM, and just save as much as we can. Next is to keep an open mind. I find all the time that how unfortunate it is for some people who don't really grow their finances just simply because they look at something and say, oh, that's a scam. That's just too good to be true. Now, however, I want to say this with a very big pack of salt, right? Because there are also a lot of people who have fallen for financial scams. And you probably see in my comment section all the time people talking about these foreign figures with AI profiles, offering crypto investments, all of that. Don't listen to that bullshit. Like, I kid you not. Those people are just out to get your money. They are the lowest of bottom feeders. So if you're watching this video right now and you're one of those scammers, go to hell, right? But like, be as cunning as a snake. But also at the same time, last thing I also want to really share with you is like, learn from mentors, to pick up, from people who have achieved the level of milestone that you want to achieve. Those could be friends, those could be content creators who do show their numbers. That's why I show my numbers, because I do want to show you basically how we have progressed over time as well. So hopefully this can really help you to uh, grow more in your financial journey as well. So I'm really curious to know, like in the comment section, I would love to know what stage are you in right now, and what moves are you making to get to the next milestone. So hopefully this video was helpful, and if it was, then like, subscribe, and the whole shebang, right? And for now, that's all I want to share, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.